This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Good evening, and I would like to apologize for 30 minutes delay because of what happens recently is that here's the news alert for Mapping 101 Thursdays. Apparently, we have a memorandum or you know what. Password updates right here, left and right, because LTFRB is changing the route strategy for certain bus routes, and of course this might affect most of the commuters, especially if you're heading from the Valenzuela Gateway Complex all the way to EDSA. And as what I have mentioned this earlier, this episode is to add because I have, some sort of negative GOSM experience, whereas I was supposed to have some sort of typewritten change set comment, but upon publishing, turns out that there's something wrong, and of course it returns with an empty change set comment than it was supposed to do. But before that, bus route changes, and we have Mapping 101 alert. Of course, there are some changes to the bus route system, whereas instead of going through the EDSA Balintawak interchange, bus route 32 is now instructed to divert immediately to Smart Connect interchange that leads to Highway 128, aka Mindanao Avenue, just to avoid some sort of bicycle lane conflicts. But however, there's some sort of another bicycle lane conflict with the Quezon City government, whereas hopefully Quezon City government would be immediately informed through this program, whereas there's an existing bicycle lane at the Highway 128 Mindanao Avenue. Of course, there are some sort of dangerous conflicts, not only for the cyclists with the buses. If I could remember this one, and as far as I know, there would be some sort of dangerous conflicts with the bicycle lane that is needed to be addressed right away. And what I need to tell this story is that bicycle lanes are meant to be protected. And of course, I'll be sharing with some MAPI community here. Special thanks to OpenStreetMap Philippines community, Mental Health Awareness Philippines. Of course, I have to share it with you as well to the general public, to DP24 GTV, both on Facebook and YouTube. Yes, of course, we're airing this special coverage since I have encountered the unknown change set related bug that got experienced in a particular one of the mapper. By the way, I'm not going to call anybody here, but one of the mapper got returned into empty change set, and of course another mapper have notified him or her about what's going on, why that change set comment is empty, or something like that. And yes, of course, good evening to all of you. This is your one and only Dirpol speaking, and you're now live on DP24 GTV. And since we're not sure about this timing because we got late, it's 19:37 Philippine Standard Time, and of course it's now 17th or 24 September 2020, and it's another month for the Muslim calendar. Assalamualaikum to all our dear Muslims right there watching here, Mapping 101 Thursdays. But mind you guys, next week, Mapping 101 Thursdays and most of DP24 GTV produced programs will be suspended from, as far as I know, from 28 September all the way to 7th October. All programs will be suspended, including DP24 in Focus and DP24 on Reflections, just to give way for the mandatory 3-day ban period prior to the scheduled preliminary exam, plus the preliminary thesis oral defense for the sake of the title defense. And I'm sorry to say this to you because I need to focus more on the academics. And yes, of course, before I play the video, I just wanted to share it with you on what's happening with the mapping 101 Thursdays on the context of the pre-recorded episode. Well, as far as I know, I have recorded those extras since it entails more of the responsibilities that I should shoulder. And even though I have missed some, just to inform you guys that there are certain changes in the midway, whereas I cannot produce some sort of tape edition of the supposed mapping 101 Thursdays due to the academics commitment and other stuff like that. And so without further ado, I'll be playing the pre-recorded mapping 101 Thursdays dated 10th of September 2020, which is all about 14 days ago, which is equivalent to the single quarantine for some. And of course, what happened in the midway is that what I need to do is to go into the fast forward. And let's see if we're going to do the times 4 mode. So if you're wondering, I'll start at 21:00:30. So please stand by. I'll be playing the full screen of the pre-tape edition. And without further ado, let's watch this. On times 4 mode. And as you can see, what I have to do is to reset some sort of routing for certain P2P buses and BGC rather bus system. And I'll go into the faster speed because we're running out of time. I'm not 100% sure if, the next program will push through, especially the QuarterLifeBLISS with Coach Yani. And as you can see, there are several hints of resetting of such routing. Our present time is at 19:44 and we're playing the times for speed. And for the sake, I'll be going to flash only the lower thirds that says pre-recorded episode. In which it is located in Makati City's Central Business District, also known as the Ayala Avenue. Moreover, if you have noticed something, I need to do some sort of PACC then for checks for certain modification of the same roadway or a highway. And you know what? It's too hard to configure such lane management practices. And as far as I'm concerned, back and forth mapping of the Ayala Avenue. And by the way, this one is recorded via Zoom. And yes, of course, it's streamed via StreamYard. And this is basically what happens on the behind the scenes of the Mapping 101 Thursdays. And of course, it's so hard to manage such mapping practices, and all of a sudden there's a new development once again of another bicycle lane, bus routes, lane management, and even road dieting that makes it very harder to verify unless it is being circulated all over the news. If in case Coach Yani will going to stream, I'll be cut immediately at 1955. And shout out also to Grab JO community right there. And of course, it's hard for you to tell if all of the highways that you have traversed could be more like of putting up or setting up such bicycle lanes, bus lanes, or in BGC's case, bicycle bus combined lane that would prohibit most of the private motorists, not even motorcyclists and delivery vans, to traverse through it. And as such, there would be all sort of penalties that may incur. And let's face it, underpasses and other sorts of, grade separated crossings would mean a safer passage. And please be reminded that if you're going to configure such lane assignment, and that includes the bicycle lane, you have to remain if a single lane, say for Ayala Avenue's case, originally 4 lanes of traffic, the 2 rightmost lanes are hereby used for bicycle lane or should I say, from left to right, bus lane and bicycle lane respectively. And of course, 30th September 2020, for all you know, would be the title defense. So please pray for me and my team, because all of the tasks that are supposed to be made, especially for, fixing certain bus routes, that includes city and provincial bus routes. The provincial bus, I have to delegate it to another mapper. City and, certain regions of the bus routes, PUV routes needs more time of mapping. It's too hard to realize that. I would like to say this to you that let's face this one. We're still developing the whole mapping of the Makati city that is being previously mapped. And what I have to do is to be careful on the mapping. And of course, rightmost lanes, as you can see, the lane number 4 from the median itself must be for right turn only lane, except for the bikes. Of course, let's pause this for a second. I have typewritten originally and also the source. And I have originally 015, 016, but for some reason, this is what happens. It says check both of these two. But when I press the upload, usually, if you need any last sort of changes, this is usually happens. There's a last minute checking. Wait, before I press the close change set, instead of a written one, let me show it to you. It turns out that there's something wrong here. It's an empty change set comment. And of course, what I have to do is to let me check once again. Change set manager. Of course, if it's pop up and it says empty instead of what I have written, such change set comments. What a fail for me to oversee that. But let's stop the screen share and go back to the studio. Of course, it's a sad reality that there are some sort of bugs or failures that we have encountered, but I'm very thankful that upon a series of reviews, what I have done is to add a notice to mappers on the discussion corner. And let's face it, we have to usually change, or let me say, explain on the change set corner, or change set comment rather, that it was supposed to do. And say, for example, as far as I know, is that in every situation that we might encounter, let me remind you that there's always a technical errors that we may encounter. And unfortunately, as far as I know, the QuarterLifeBLISS that is supposedly be aired at 2000 hours got postponed. And so with the extension of the Mapping 101 Thursdays, which is a special coverage already on the latest developments after the erratic change set or empty change set comment bug that I have encountered. Hopefully there would be a certain fixes that would rather fix all of these bugs. And I'm very thankful to OpenStreetMap Philippines community that within the expertise and learnings that I have been encountered. And so what I need to share it with you all throughout is that there are many changes that we have encountered, in particular the Pasig cities let me have to full screen this whole OpenStreetMap thing. And please stand by for the screen sharing. And as you can see, well, my face is not visible here. Of course, let's have a split screen here. As far as we have to be concerned about is that there are sudden changes to the bus lane system, and of course, let's zoom this out. The U-turn slot has been removed along with the, well, as you can see on this center or the mouse pointer, this is on the cycle map, this one is on transport map, but here the big change happened. You could no longer make a U-turn along the Highway 1 AH26 4th Circumferential Road, aka EDSA, because of the U-turn closure. And of course, as a result, it's been completely disabled, along with the rerouting of the bus route 32 as a solution. And maybe LTFRB have realized it lately, so they have to make sure of the needed adjustment rather than staying into this routing setup in which they are not supposed to do. Of course, operators should take note of the changes and revise it right away. Good news, the Balintawak interchange will be reopened as a temporary or permanent solution to those who are affected by the U-turn closure, that instead of making a U-turn to the center lane, which is now a bus lane already, they will be diverted off to the Balintawak interchange. Truckers are advised that if they are going to use or planning to use, or rather private vehicle owners that are planning to make a left on A De Jesus Street and even Serrano Streets, which is actually a one-way for A De Jesus Street southwards and Serrano Street northwards, and other streets here. Of course, they have to go straight to all the way to Highway 130 5th Avenue. And as such, diversions could be more like a long journey to take. But here's the catch. If it's from this part to this part, you might need to take this Monumento roundabout interchange, or it's not an interchange rather, it's a Monumento roundabout or circle, just to avoid conflict with the bus lane. As the actuality of the bus lane, more bollards are expected to be placed along the lane number 1 itself, which is designated as the bus lane. And what I have realized that if there would be no such diversions, then there would be a problem already. Let me test the navigation first with the use of Grasshopper. Say if from Roosevelt Avenue to another side, Congressional Avenue, and the result for the car, though it's allowed here, but sooner or later both Grasshopper and OSRM, oh my goodness me, for OSRM, look at this. I can't even imagine how far you could take. You could take 5.4 kilometers. Yikes! That's too long. Of course, this one also needs to be disabled as well. Well, thank you very much for FEAST's routing service. And let me test this navigation coming from, let me say Katipunan Street, which is a one-way all the way to the St. Joseph the Worker Parish. Though it's not yet disabled here, sooner or later it would be disabled as well. As for the preparation for the bus lane related U-turn closures and permanent prohibition and other stuff like that, and so if we're going to use Toyota Caloocan as the reference point, let's reverse the directions. And if you take this interchange carefully, you have to cross the boundary and return to Highway 1 AH26, or EDSA should we commonly call, then exit twice, and there you go. A couple of fixes will be made here, which could be on the cam And now, as part of this special coverage, I'll be using the ID editor. And as we're going to say this one, that the permanent closure would mean if we're going to select this one, we have to disconnect the node. Unfortunately, this is not the case for the ID editor. Let's zoom this in. And let's troubleshoot. Oh my goodness, it got zoomed unexpectedly. Of course, the mabuhay lane number 6 needs to be revised as well. Left turn closures could be more affected. Or let's open this GOSM editor, as editing in the ID editor with the relation could prevent us from cutting the way segment into these two parts. Or I don't think so, because there's an undesirable effect. Well, it's a complex process. And maybe let's have some sort of remedy here. Let's cut this two from the inner state, then delete this one, then disconnect this node, then delete then restore this. Take note of this. If there's no link here, then there's no way number here. But if there's a link here, you could see on the right side that says 10402044. And let's merge these two. Of course, that's sad to say. We have to configure once again the mabuhay route, or let me add this one, mabuhay route 6. Such changes could affect more than you could imagine. Mabuhay lane has to be added, but we have to be careful on adding those route relation here on the ID editor. Oops, mabuhay lane should I type? And we have to make sure that we do slowly but surely, so that we could go for it faster without any sort of Oops! There's a mistake already here. Sometimes I do rush. Oops. And as such rush, we could fatally make a mistake here. Then let's go eastward. Then another one eastward. Mabuhay Lane or Mabuhay Route 6. And another one, Mabuhay Route 6. Oops! We have to cut this. There's a side effect already, as you can notice. Any part that is being cut would produce some sort of negative effect. And as such, additional way segment or let me do the follow-up editing on GOSM editor. So please make sure to stay here on Mapping 101 to stays for the following editing that we're going to live. Say Caloocan City follow-up total disabling of U-turn slot due to EDSA carousel, and of course, oops, rerouting of Mabuhay Route 6. With immediate follow-up via GOSM. Say Maxar, OSM data, well, it's always a research-based one because it came from various sources based on DOTRMMDA source. MMDA would always change the plans for the highway or the U-turn disabling. And of course, as early as possible, all mapping apps, including the OpenStreetMap, has to change it right away before 3/8 September 2020 in order to avoid penalizing on the illegal turns in which it would be the source of inconvenience. GOSM is now opened already. Let me follow it up, so please stand by. And if you're wondering why there's an editing failed prompt, either the GOSM or Mercator is not loaded, or a delay itself in the loading if the GOSM is opened. Please stand by for the following screen share, and let's see if we're going to have a follow-up edit. And unfortunately, there's a bug once again that we have detected live, and as always happens, unexpected exception occurred that may have come from Java FX Windows plugin, and it has to be updated. Of course, it's declaring a bug already, and we have to report it right away. Without further ado, let's have a follow-up edit. Of course, the violet lines that were showing, no imagery have been shown, whereas the imagery have been used recently is the Maxar imagery. Special thanks to Maxar Technologies for giving us the latest imagery update. And here's a warning to Gmaps right there. Please make sure that your navigation is ready for upcoming closures. As such, problematic navigation in regards to the U-turn closure brought by the EDSA carousel bus rapid transit system could never be tolerated once the U-turn slots got closed, and there are several complaints that might be expected to follow. And DP24 Media is ready to open for the complaints, and as far as possible, I might need to delegate to the mapping community, since I have some sort of thesis defense that I have been, oh my goodness me, enough of that blabbering juice. But let's focus more on this one. Cycling routes have to be hidden. This one is the Mabuhay Route 6. Let's cut this one for the GOSM. Press Papa, and of course, it would be prompted already. Which way segment should we use the history for this particular way segment. For ID editor, they are automatically using these higher nodes, or in one-way case, it's the end or tail one first, which is the segment 1, 4 nodes, which is unacceptable. So I'll prefer 14 nodes, which is on the right side. Hence, for GOSM, it contains 11 relations. You might need to download first the missing members, and of course, for those who doesn't need to be prompted next time, this was the first one. Remember the choice, or for this session only, this session, but if you need to show this one again for the next time because some of you might doubt it, you may press this third choice. But for the tutorial's sake, I might have to show the do not show again this session only, then okay. Downloading might take some time if you're on the slow connection. This one is now okay, and we're going to remove or read this one. Let's check the other relations. If there are any problems that may arise, AH26 is okay. So what we need to do is that we need to download some sort of routing here. This one, let's check it once again. This, and I don't see any problems here. Assuming that the all relation or route relations are verified already, so let's safely merge this two-way segment. This one has a number 805-816-388, and this one. To merge, press Charlie. Oops! But before that, let me undo for the sake of the tutorial. Let me select it once again. Be careful because if it says one concrete, one unset, there's a possibility that it would combine it, or if it's of a different value, a dialog box will appear. And so this one needs to be merged. Of course, if we're going to verify, I would rather recommend you to use the Maxar imagery. And don't forget to do some sort of the offsetting. Sometimes there would be misalignments here. Let me go forward here. and say 7.76 for the tutorial sake. I press OK, and this is what happens. What is this happening here is that I'm not 100% sure on why they would map erroneously. Let me verify first with the ping, whereas it doesn't exist. Oh my goodness me. Of course, it's a warrant for me to trace who's this errand. Oh my goodness me. Is for these editors concerned, if I may know you from your side, maybe it's a wake-up call to verify it first if it really exists or not, because this would mostly times that there would be a conflict already with the footbridge. And so, without further ado, let's continue some sort of editing here. 2032, of course. Here's the reminder for everyone here. Don't forget to practice. As always, it's being inherited not only from LBO Cavite but also from A+ Quest. It's the 5S discipline. Of course, without further ado, let's edit this further. We're going to verify it next time if the latest information becomes available. And as you have noticed, this one has been permanently disabled due to the leftmost lane that, or the lane number 1 itself from the median is a bus lane already. The rightmost lane is a bicycle lane as well. And well, we're not yet so sure on why there would be a city bus routes along this highway, whereas there's a bicycle lane. This bus routes 3, 20, 21, and 22 needs immediate attention from the LTFRB, as these bus routes could have a fatal conflict with the bicycle lanes, as Department of Transportation could construct more of the bicycle lanes along its main thoroughfares. And without further ado, let's have to upload this one. Maybe there would be a later verification. Let me type for the tutorial's sake. Let's use the tags of a new change set instead of using the settings. Let's use this tagging system. Rerouting of Mabuhay Route 6. Follow up change set on totally saving of U-turn slots. Save. Well, it's still in Caloocan. Mapping 101 live 017 output. Of course, don't forget to supply those missing key and value or the tagging hashtags. Just to be machine readable. And also don't forget to use the hashtag mapping 101 and also EDSA carousel. Complete follow-up. Of course, as far as you can see, all of these have been modified. No addition, no deletion. This is what I have to stand for. I'm not sure if you could hear me as well. Of course, it's normal. And say, let's upload this one. 91435-521. Of course, it's now uploaded completely. Thank you very much for watching Mapping 101 Thursdays. Of course, let's go back to the OpenStreetMap screen. Yes, of course. Let me refresh the screen of the OpenStreetMap and let me see. The line is now removed and that means it's completely disabled. but you need to refresh several times in order to see those changes in effect. Routing navigation software would be more likely to be refreshed. Let's assume that the Palintawak interchange be opened. Of course, I need to load dozens of some sort of segments that needs to be refreshed. So let me try those editing without the Maxar imagery. And as such, U-turn closures could have a negative effect for those private vehicles that are plying those affected routes. And for the sake of transparency and accountability, and to prevent those cheating incidents, we have to show the screen. Oh my goodness me. There might have an instances of technical difficulties. This one is a waste segment that needs to be eliminated. Oh no. The one that I have tried to load doesn't get loaded. How ironic is this? We need to re-enable once again the Palintawak interchange. And as far as I know, construction might be completed as well for the Metro Skyway Stage 3. This one is the footbridge. And what I'm looking is this. This one has to be detached, and this as well. Oh my goodness me. There's a missing sidewalk here. So let me analyze this one. Most likely, let's have to map the sidewalk once again from the Palintawak station. Let me download this little piece. And this one is the Palintawak station for the LRTA line 1. This one is sidewalk. Of course, there's a missing sidewalk here. Please be reminded once again, moving elements by a large distance most likely to cause an error if you're not careful. So please make sure that you have such responsibility. let's extend further. And of course, we have to map it as accurately as possible. This and this. And realign if possible. Of course, highway, footway, sidewalk, no tactile paving, and unfortunately, a limited wheelchair access due to the fact that the instances were in those people with disabilities got into hard time accessing such public facilities, most likely on the likes of the sidewalk due to the obstruction that is being reported, and of course a problem that needs to be addressed as well. And so we're going to create a new chain set. A follow-up total disabling. This time it's on Quezon City due to EDSA carousel, Maxa imagery, DOTR, MMDA source, and what I have realized lately is a source mistake on the earlier change sets. But it has to be this Maxa imagery, DOTR, MMDA source. Oh my goodness me. I have to rectify this one on the off-peak edition. Plus sidewalk addendum. To link with the footage. Of course, it's fixed already. Mapping 101, Quezon City, EDSA carousel. Of course, we have to be very careful next time if we're going to specify the source, in which I have a mistake already on the live edition. But next week there would be no live episode of Mapping 101 Thursdays. Oh my goodness me. What happened to this one? Failed to connect to a remote server. and okay. So let's stop this screen sharing. 2050 Philippines Standard Time because we're running out of time. Shout out to, let me modify first the taker property. And special thanks to Department of Public Works and Highways, and also Land Transportation Franchising Regulatory Board, and also Metropolitan Manila Development Authority. Let me add Department of Transportation here. Of course, I'm very grateful that Secretary Mark Villar, Secretary Arthur Tugade have contributed to the various transportation related projects, and of course, sooner or later we could collaborate on each other with regards to the transportation related development. And of course, I'll be focusing more on the thesis oral defense on the title defense, that maybe sooner or later it would be more of the rehabilitation efforts to revive each and every one cities of residence, most likely several cities that are needly badly for the rehabilitation as well. That includes the city government of Dasmariñas, also city government of Binyan, and even city government of Santa Rosa, General Trias, Quezon Martires, Tagaytay, and even Imus Bacoor, Cavite City as well, Cabuyao, Calamba, Santo Tomas. Some of the junctions are needed to be converted to roundabout as the vehicular volume increases during the GCQ and GCQ implementation. Special thanks to OpenStreetMap Philippines, Maxar Technologies, for giving us the insights on how the data has to be presented. Of course, don't forget to practice 5S discipline always. And as such, good night everyone, and have a sweet dreams as well. So please make sure to be safe, be well, stay sane, and of course, thank you very much for watching Mapping 101 Thursdays. You are